coming and joining us here at CBS TV studios for an evening with Joel Silver and Ben Grossman. This is the third in what has become an exciting series for us. We started the season with David Mamet. We are wrapping up the season with a very dear friend, an extraordinary personality and talent in our industry, Joel Silver. I promise it will be entertaining, enlightening. What I also think is very exciting is the partnership that we have at CBS with the BU in LA internship program. I think it's been extraordinary in terms of the people we've met. I think the talent and the experiences that you all have been exposed to. It's been an extraordinary year. I'm thrilled to have been a part of it. And I want to welcome you all here tonight. I'd like to introduce a dear friend of mine, Ben Grossman. Ben is the editor-in-chief of Broadcasting and Cable. He's overseeing the nation's top weekly television industry trade publication, as well as the brand's digital and event businesses. He regularly appears on air to analyze the television industry for national television and radio outlets, having appeared on outlets including CNBC, CNN, Fox Business Network, MSNBC, Entertainment Tonight, the BBC, NPR, and CBS Radio. Ben is a Minnesota native. He graduated with honors from Boston University with a bachelor's degree in journalism and a minor in economics. He holds an MBA from UCLA Anderson School of Management, where he was awarded a Dean's Fellowship. Just so you know, this is an extremely crazy time of year for all of us. I cannot adequately convey my gratitude to Ben and Joel for joining us tonight. I promise you it will be a very exciting, engaging, and entertaining evening. My thank you, and I'd like to welcome Ben Grossman.
Evening, everybody. Nina, thank you so much.
Ben. Thank you.
Before I bring out our guest of honor, Nina, before you run away, on behalf of just a lot of people, I really want to take a second and just say a really warm thank you to Nina. She talked about my life, and I mean, forget it. She's got a day job that would put me and everybody else in an early grave. This is like her busiest time of the year, without a doubt. She's a tireless champion for BU. She really, really is. So if we could please, just a warm round of applause for Nina. So, thank you, Nina. And now we get to turn our attention to Joel Silver. I would sit here and read his full list of credits, but honestly, in the interest of time, it'd probably be better if I just read a list of action movies that are hits that he didn't make. That's how much he's really done. Truly legendary producer. His films have banked more than $10 billion with a B in revenue around the world. You guys all know his hit franchises like The Matrix, Die Hard, modern hits like Sherlock Holmes, and the just released The Losers, which came out over the weekend, which I saw and actually thought was a lot of fun. We'll talk about that. You guys actually, all the stuff in the movie business, and he's actually also credited with inventing an entire sport. The guy invented a sport. We'll talk about that too. I could literally go on for an hour just reading the guy's intro. So at this point, I will shut up and bring to the stage Joel Silver.
Ben. Hi, everybody.
So I've got some questions here. You guys have given me some questions, some of which are fantastic, some of which are really pathetic. You guys got to work a little harder than this. We're going to spend some time with Joel, and then at the end, hopefully open it up for some questions from the audience if we've got time and the interest. So when I was putting some thoughts together for this, I think I read or heard somewhere that you first got interested in the business from a New York Times book review. Is that right?
Yeah, there was when I was a kid, there was a review of a book called King Kong by Bob Thomas, who was and became the AP Associated Press reporter in Hollywood, and he wrote a book about Harry Cohn, and I had not known who he was. And the review explained about this book about this guy who created Columbia Pictures and made all these great movies, and I wasn't aware of what that meant. And when I got my parents to get me the book, I read the book, and I realized that these producer guys, they told stories. They really were the guys that told the stories. They found the people to do them and to write them and to direct them. And I said, well, that's a good job. And I went to NYU. I wasn't at BU, but I was at NYU.
We can't all get into a good school.
You know, that era, which I was there 72 to 74, that era was, everybody wanted to be directors, everybody wanted to be auteurs, and I wanted to be producer. I wanted to go to Hollywood, I wanted to make big action movies. And that was a kind of not a very popular idea in those days. But I came to LA in 1975, and I went to work for an assistant to a producer, and his name was Larry Gordon, in 1977. And I've been doing this since then, and you know, I've had some great successes and some great bombs. This weekend, Losers was a big bomb, but I still like the movie very much. And but you know, I'm happy to talk to you guys about it and say that it's a great time. People are going to the movies like crazy. They're loving what we do. They're loving all the stories that we tell. There's, you know, 3D has been a huge charge to all of our lives, and it's a great time to talk about our lives, our business here.
A bomb being $10 million.
Well, it's, I mean,
Just for the record, it's not like 7 people showed up and
I know,
6 of them were kids.
but I'm a commercial picture maker, so that's not enough for me.
Right.
But,
So, $10 million bomb, very nice. So you mentioned a lot of things that I want to get into. Are movies any good these days?
oh yeah, I think they're great.
Yeah?
I mean, if people talk about the golden age of Hollywood, I mean, I did study, you know, when I was a kid, I studied, you know, movie making, and I studied the great movies of the 40s and the 50s and the 30s. I mean, I know about some of them. I'm not a scholar, but I know about them, and that was always referred to as the golden era of Hollywood. And I think we're having a golden era now. I think there's great actors, there's great directors, there's great movies being made. I think it's a great time, and I think that people are going like crazy. So I think that it's a great era to be part of this great business.
Seen anything good lately?
Yeah, oh sure, yeah. I mean, I love Sherlock Holmes, but you know, yeah. I mean, it's all different things. You know, all different eras of kinds of movies are being made now, and you know, there's a lot of different things happening that you know, they're trying to do different things. I mean, these Sword and Sandal movies have done very well. These 3 Sword and Sandal movies, which were very big in the 50s. But you had Troy was a big success, and then 300, and now this movie Clash of the Titans has done great. I mean, it's a little silly, but big 3D, big fun, exciting movie. I think it worked. People really enjoyed it, and you know, I mean, you're looking at these kind of period movies like this that are working today. For a long time, they didn't touch period movies, but you know, we started Sherlock Holmes. They said, anybody going to go see a movie about a 19th century detective? I mean, are they going to go see that? And the studio was questioning the audience would go see a picture like that, and you know, Downey, you know, was around for a long time before people realized he could, you know, do this again. And I mean, there's a premiere tonight, Iron Man 2. That is going to be probably the biggest movie this summer. It didn't hurt that Robert Downey Jr. was Sherlock Holmes, but you know, I think that, you know, that we're seeing a time of renaissance in picture making. I think it's a very exciting, you know, kind of movie making process. You can do anything. I mean, yes, some people rant and rave about CGI not being real, but it allows you to do anything. You can make anything happen, and I think that's great.
Downey batshit crazy or really batshit crazy?
He's one of the smartest guys you'll ever want to meet. You know, I mean, I did a movie with him in 1985 called Weird Science.
Yes.
And he was 19 years old, and he was batshit crazy.
Okay.
But he was very talented and special, and we knew that he had something magic. And I lost touch for a while with him because he, you know, was, you know, going to prison and doing those kind of things. But you know, but when Mel Gibson, who I made a lot of movies with, was a very big fan of Robert's, and he did a movie called Air America, Mel and Robert, and he had called me up at one point and said, look, I just did a picture with him which was called The Singing Detective. It was a small independent film that he did. And he said he's in good shape, he's clean, you should give him a shot. And I was putting this picture together called Gothica with Halle Berry. It was a good part, a guy's role, and I said, look, you know, I'll take the shot, but I couldn't get insurance for him. I had to pay for his insurance. I mean, it was one of those kind of things. But he came in, and right away we had a problem with that because Halle, in one early scene, she broke her arm in the movie. I mean, she was, and so that was a big insurance claim on the picture. Nothing to do with Robert, but that was an issue. But we got through the movie fine. He did great in that picture, and I followed that movie called Kiss Kiss Bang Bang with him that made no money, but we liked it. And Jon Favreau did tell me that's the reason he gave him Iron Man, because he loved the way he played that character in Kiss Kiss. and you know, he's on top. I mean, I now there are really two stars in Hollywood. Really, I mean, it's hard probably to say, but there are two guys who can open a movie to any amount of money, and that's Johnny Depp and Downey. And Will Smith is there too, but he hasn't made a movie in about 4 years, so he has to go back to work. But Downey and Johnny right now are the guys.
You mentioned 3D a couple times. I guess there were 5 3D films released last year, 19 this year already. Is it a fad? Is it here to stay? What's 3D like?
I mean, it's all in the process of the digital revolution. That's what it's about. I mean, you know, it's really funny, but when I came to town again in '75, movies were pretty much made the same way they were since 1913. I mean, they really hadn't changed. Yeah, there was sound, but the process of shooting and dubbing and putting movies together was pretty much the same process. And since that time that I've been here, it's a vastly different. I mean, technology has just transformed the business, and now, you know, the digital revolution has affected a lot about how we make movies, how we complete them. And once these digital projectors go in the theaters, it allows things like 3D to come. I mean, the last time they tried 3D, when it was a mechanical process, it was kind of silly. You know, the whole notion of those red and blue glasses and the cardboard thing, it was kind of goofy. But the digital projection 3D makes it really be effective. So that's altered the process. And I just think that, you know, certain movies will really perform great in that medium. And as well as when you're having a ticket price for $20 a ticket, that's nice for us. You know, I mean, people like $20 tickets. At least you guys don't, but the studios do. So any way you can get people to pay that much for a movie, it's going to be effective. And as long as it's working, they're going to keep trying to find ways to make them.
It seems to fit right into the kind of movies you like to make.
I'm trying, yeah.
Yeah. Is there a franchise or a movie that you really want to do in 3D?
I've tried to make this picture Logan's Run for a long time. That was a 50s movie a 60s movie that I wanted to do, and I think if we can pull that off, I would do that in 3D. Okay. But I'm just, you know, it's just one of the things we're trying to do.
Yeah. What about on the TV side? You work in TV, and I went to the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas this year, and if anybody went there or heard about it, if you had been there, they're talking so much about 3D, you'd honestly think that everything that you watch from CSI to Ghost Whisperer by the end of the year is going to. Nina, 3D Ghost Whisperer. Jennifer Love Hewitt in 3D. There, you want young males? There you go. Will you see a lot more of that in TV? I mean, is that really where we're going?
That's the next phase, but you know, you have to buy a new TV and you have to wear glasses. I don't know if you want to wear glasses at home, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, eventually they'll have 3D where it's, you know, just watching 3D, I'm sure. But I mean, look, again, it's a way to make people buy new equipment and buy new everything, and it's just a way to keep it going. But I think that, you know, seeing a movie in 3D when it's good 3D is, I think, pretty effective.
It sounds like you're constantly learning about this business. 3D's back in, things are working, not working. Is that right? I mean, is this a thing where you just constantly learn, or do you kind of?
I mean, every day something new happens. You figure something else out. You know, I mean, you try something else. And things change all the time. You know, I mean, this movie, like The Losers, for example, was a movie that, you know, was a young male, high energy action picture, and those used to be slam dunks for us. People would just go. I mean, they would just go to those movies. I mean, the young male audience was very loyal, and they were aggressive, and they would show up, and they would be there opening weekend and deliver an audience. And now there's video games, and there's television, and other things, so you have to really have a movie that they want. I mean, they'll be at this opening of Iron Man 2. They'll be there, but they really didn't show up, you know, this weekend for us. So you have to, you know, figure that out and analyze it and say what is going to get them in the theater and what's going to, you know, make them show up and be there.
Why did it, in your words, bomb?
I guess it wasn't fresh enough. It wasn't unique enough. I mean, it was like a throwback to movies that I've made in the past. And even though I had a young, cool cast, it wasn't the kind of movie that generated that kind of urgency to see it. You know, and yes, it was at $10 million a nice opening weekend, but you know, and 15 years ago I would have been overjoyed. You know, but now it's, you know, it wasn't enough to make the movie do what it has to do.
Did it need bigger names in it?
I don't know. I mean, who was in The Hangover? You know, who were those guys? I mean, they were fantastic, but I mean, that idea was fresh and unique, and that drove an audience. So they went to see that, and that it was a kind of idea that worked for them. And The Losers, I guess, wasn't a fresh enough idea that kind of got them excited.
You've mentioned a couple things, digital delivery, all these different things going on. Some people like to say the motion picture business is in trouble or headed down a bad road. Are you at all concerned
But
about where it's going?
it's not, though. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not happening. I mean, the DVD business kind of is fucked up now.
Yeah.
It's fucked up because people aren't buying the DVDs that they use. That used to be a big part of our revenue, and that kind of shut down. And people are talking about VOD or digital distribution of movies, but that's not there yet. It's not happening yet. It doesn't have a financial center yet. The DVD business was a financial center. I mean, people bought DVDs, and the rental DVD process is, I mean, a movie that all this kind of Netflix stuff is great for the audience, but it's not really great for what we're trying to do. But I think that there will be a digital distribution system that will be effective one day, and will, I don't think we'll have what happened to the music business happen to the movie business. I mean, the record business pretty much is gone. I mean, it disappeared. I don't think that'll ever happen. I mean, people want to go out, they want to go to a theater, they want to, yes, they want to watch at home too, but I think that we'll be able to figure out a way to distribute the pictures where it won't be at a loss.
So the Redbox thing, things like that you mentioned, it's a buck a night or whatever. Is that if DVDs are going away, at least the buying of them, sorry, is that something that's good then? At least you're getting a buck a night for it, or is that?
I mean, it's not going away. I mean, Avatar came out a couple of days ago, and it was the largest selling DVD in history. So I mean, I just think that, again, if it's something out that people want to see, they're going to respond to it.
Yeah.
But but look, it's just that we have to find a way to, to get our product to the audience a way that helps us. And if yes, the dollar rental is a realistic plan to do that, but it's not going to do what the selling a DVD did a year ago or 2 years ago. Yeah.
So so all this is happening though? Do you have to make movies for less money? I mean, is that something you have to focus on now?
Well, it just seems to me that that the movies that are working are the ones that cost more money. I mean, the ones that are big and exciting and thrilling and expensive, and those are the ones that are the ones you're responding to, the big splashy pictures. I mean, that's what seems to be working, and I think that I mean, again, it's an unusual time where if you have a unique, cool, kind of fresh idea that isn't costly to make, like The Hangover wasn't, that can be very effective.
Yeah.
But you want the movies that the audience is going to really, be excited about seeing, and sometimes they cost more.
Is it too? We talk about DVDs. Is it too short, the time between being in a theater, the window that it's on VOD or DVD?
It's shortening. It's like 3 months now.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a couple months ago, there was a thing where one of the companies, they wanted to do it the same day, which made theater owners go crazy, and everybody was, insane about that. I mean, I don't think that's going to happen right away. I think the film going experience is still pretty cool. I mean, kids have to go out on dates, and people want to go out at night. And back when television came in, there was an old adage that exhibitors used to say, that people would say, well, no one's going to go out anymore because they're going to watch everything at home on television. And the theater owner said, look, everybody has a kitchen, but still there's a lot of restaurant business, every night. So people will go out and see things. And look what's happened to the concert business too. I mean, that has exploded in the last few years. I mean, the whole Live Nation thing. I mean, people are really going like crazy to see bands and see performances, and that's really a lucrative business where it wasn't a couple of years ago. It really is again, and that's kind of replaced what the record business was. So it's people are going to, I think, go see movies, but they're going to want to see them at home too. So we have to find a balance.
A guy from Microsoft was saying that he thinks maybe by this year there's going to be something where in between the movie in the theaters and the release of the DVD, there's going to be like a premium viewing window where if it's $5 to rent, but $15 in the theater, for $10 after like a month and a half, you'll be able to see it at home. I mean, is that something you'd want, or do you just want to keep pushing that stuff off?
We want the audience to experience our movies in the theater first. We'd like them to. We'd like them to see, what we do on a big screen. I mean, it's okay to continue it through the distribution system, but we'd like to have them see it on a theater first.
Yeah.
And you know, but it's all changing. It's a moving target. I mean, it's just all new every year. New things happen, and theater screens were getting smaller, and now home screens are getting bigger. So I mean, it keeps it all over the place. So we're trying to figure out what's the answer, and we don't know the question yet. So
Right.
I mean.
We talked about $10 million for the weekend, and it seems like suddenly the lingo of just regular consumers, not people in the industry, but regular people know what a box office open is, what it should be,
Well,
what it wasn't.
it's in the paper every morning. It's
Yeah.
on Entertainment Tonight. It's on the Today Show. I mean, they're announcing what we do, so,
Yeah.
and everybody knows what we make. So it's.
Are you surprised people care about that it's such a big thing all of a
Well,
sudden?
we're in a hit economy. I mean, people want to, use the best shampoo, and they
Right.
want to, have go to the best fast food, and they want to, people want to know what the hits are. What are the hits? What's working? So, studios will do that. The number one movie of the weekend. I mean, they'll advertise that. That's what they'll say, and they feel, and it's valid that people want to see what other people are seeing.
I guess on Wall Street, they're talking about this new thing, excuse me, where they're going to have basically what's like betting on box office receipts, where you're going to buy and sell futures based on that. It's a true story. I'm not smart enough to make this up. So last week, a Senate committee kind of came together and tried to put together this ban, and I guess a lot of you guys in Hollywood, I know,
It's idiotic.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Are you just totally against it, and why?
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's ridiculous because the fact is that to put that layer on our business
Yeah.
is insane. I mean, it's enough that they're watching what we're doing and they're watching every dime we make, but I mean, this is not horse racing. We're not trying to bet on which movies work and don't work. And then there'll be insider trading, and somebody will tell something. Well, that movie is over budget, and that one, the director is on drugs, and I mean,
Yeah.
so it'll just make the whole thing just crazier and crazier and crazier. I think that we don't need that kind of more attention on what we're doing. I think people should just see the movies they want to see, and hopefully they want to see my movies. But that's
But for you guys with all this inside info, it seemed like that could be a revenue stream replacing the DVDs that you lost.
I don't know.
No?
I don't think so.
So let's talk. You mentioned Avatar. Well, what did you think of Avatar? By the
I
way?
loved it.
Yeah?
I loved it. Yeah.
Love the story. Love the whole
Everything.
thing.
Everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I went down to see. Jim showed me a little bit of it right before it was like out for the world to see, and we cast Zoe Saldana, who's in The Losers. She was also an Avatar after we saw her in that picture. But I thought it was just incredible. Fantastic.
Did you go to a theater and see it? Or
Yes,
did you,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I saw it in IMAX.
Okay. Yeah. So is that experience really that transformational?
I mean, I think it was great. I mean, I don't know if it. I mean, it wasn't. It didn't. I didn't. See God. I mean, but I mean, I thought it was great, and I loved the movie, and I think that it's. It made me aware that people for a long time in our business they would say people are never going to. Relate to a CG character. How can they relate to a CG character? It's not a real character. What I mean? But I think that they did in that movie, and I think it was very effective.
Should it have gotten love from the Oscars? Do you think?
I mean, you can't look at the Oscars as a bellwether of anything. It's what the Oscar voters feel should or should not do based on whatever whim is happening at that time in the world. I mean, I liked Hurt Locker. I don't think it was the best movie of the year. And if you look at the gross of that movie, it made $14 million a year, which is not much more than The Losers this weekend.
You said it.
I mean, I think that Avatar was groundbreaking and was spectacular, and I think it was the best movie of the year. But it's just that's what happened.
Okay. We've got couple questions from. So I'm going to sprinkle some of these in.
Let's go.
I mentioned you. Well, no, we'll do that one later. All right, here we go. For somebody interested in producing, what would be the best first steps?
I mean, look, this is not a hard business to break into. It really isn't. I mean, people are going to say, "Oh, how do you say that?" But it isn't. I mean, there's movies and television shows and everything being made all the time. We're always looking for entry-level people all the time. And once people get into the system, they can find their way through the system. And how to start producing. I mean, you just got to be around, work on a movie, work on a television show, just Be a PA, do something, start the process, and you'll find your way through it. It's not impossible to do. And you know, and also it's not just, you know, unfortunately it's not just LA anymore. We don't really make movies in LA anymore. I mean, that Arnold Schwarzenegger did a wonderful thing. He ruined the movie industry in California. I mean, I'm sorry to say this, but I mean, when we started, the infrastructure was all here to make movies. All of our people were here. I've made 6 movies in Australia, 4 in the UK, 5 in Germany. I mean, and all those cities and all those countries have infrastructure now that we didn't have before. That they didn't have before. We had to bring people from here to there, but because they didn't do anything to keep the business here, it's everywhere. It's all over the world now. Now, television is pretty much here, primarily in California, a lot of it here. But movies are everywhere. And, you know, they start here and they go other places, and they, you know, they pick up and they do some weeks here and some weeks there. I just finished a movie that we shot all the interiors in Berlin and the exteriors in Calabasas. So, I mean, it's just because there was, you know, we go where the money is. There was rebates in Germany, so we went to get those rebates. And then we built the Calabasas house in a soundstage in Babelsberg, in Potsdam, and then came back to California and shot the exteriors. When we did Sherlock Holmes, we shot all the exteriors in London and the UK, but all the interiors were shot in New York because there was rebates in New York. We go to follow the money. I mean, it's like we have a divining rod. When we find the money, that's where we go and get the money. And you know, and you know, New York had a big rebate. Detroit, Michigan had a huge rebate. Louisiana has a huge rebate, and that's, I mean, yes, we're trying to spend less money to make the movies, but we do that by getting it from other people.
And why do we live here with all this goddamn traffic and an earthquake?
I don't know. I always say I have a nice house. I live in Brentwood, you know, and I have a nice house, but I have to get on a plane and fly to Germany to go to a soundstage and shoot the scenes, you know. But you know, that's why I love, you know, to do television, because then I'm right here. But it's, you know, it's a time where everything is happening everywhere, and there are movies being made everywhere, and I think it's not impossible to get in the door. That's my opinion.
Somebody brings you a project. What's the first question you ask yourself when you're presented with a new project that somebody brings to you?
Well, you know, I'm fortunate that I have a staff who works for me, so I don't always see the new project. So it comes into a system that works, and you know, look, people read scripts who work for me, and if they like something that will work, we buy it, we option it, we try to make it. So it's not like, you know, it has to be from a person that we know. It doesn't work that way. When we get a script that we like, we try to put it together, and it's happened that way a lot of times. I mean, sometimes they're big projects with big writers, and they come from the big agencies, but sometimes they come from nowhere.
Let's talk about some of the movies you've made, some of your thoughts on some of the different ones. I think people love to hear that. What's the best movie that you've ever made, the best movie you've ever been a part of, and you're not allowed to say the next one? What's your favorite movie you've ever made?
And it's always easy to go to the hits, to point to the hits. Well, you know, I love Lethal Weapon, I love Matrix, I love the Sherlock Holmes. But I mean, you know, it's hard because, you know, it's like these movies are my children, and I love all my children. So I always can find something about every movie, even the biggest bombs. There's things about them that I love and I think are important. I mean, I really was very fond of Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and Rock and Rolla. I like both those pictures. Nobody really saw it. Maybe some of you saw them, but nobody really saw either of those. But I liked them both very much. But I love Sherlock Holmes. I love The Losers. I love every movie we work on. I feel that you know, we put all of our heart and soul in these things. We go through I sweat through every cut, every music cue, every sound effect, and I want to make it as good as I can make it. And sometimes the audience agrees, sometimes they don't, you know. So but it's hard to pinpoint a movie that I like the best. But I mean, I know people in my life have come to me, they love The Matrix. That's a movie that people really were, you know, excited about. People love the first Die Hard movie. I mean, those are the ones that really work. But, you know, but I love them all.
What's the toughest one you ever made? What's the toughest one to get done through the whole process?
I mean, probably really fun. Die Hard 2, probably, because we were shooting that movie in like the warmest winter in 50 years, and it was a snow picture, and it was before visual effects. And today, the issues that there were problems in that movie would be solved in 30 seconds. And you put the snow in, just put it in. But we were traveling all over the United States to find snow for that movie, and we'd go to like a place called out in Washington called Moses Lake. up near Tacoma, Washington. And we got there and we brought the whole crew there, and the next morning snow was gone, melted. We had to leave. So we went to a place called Alpena, Michigan, there was snow. We brought everybody up there. In a week, snow was gone. Went to Sault Ste. Marie, which is even further north of Michigan. So that was a hard movie to make, just the process of getting it made.
How much does that piss you off when you go there and all the snow?
It was just, we just deal with it,
Zen Buddhism, something like that. No. Let's talk about actors and actresses. Who's the best one you've ever worked with?
Look, it's hard to say. I worked a lot with Downey. I like Downey a lot. He's a great guy, smart guy, funny. I like Mel Gibson a lot. Did a lot of movies with him. Had always good times with him. I've worked with a lot of people, so it's you have to ask me. I can't point to. I'm in touch with the guy. As I just worked on worked on Losers. I liked Jeffrey Dean Morgan, great guy, talented actor, love him. Chris Evans, fantastic, going to play Captain America. Zoe Saldana, Columbus Short. I just liked him. I just had a picture with him, so I liked him a lot. I got a movie coming out in about 4 weeks called Splice. You'll hear about it hopefully soon. And it's starring Adrian Brody and Sarah Polley. It is a depraved, disturbing, really creepy.
They showed the trailer before The Losers. That is one fucked up trailer.
There's a better one coming out on Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah, it's. I promise you, it's worth seeing. But that one came out pretty good.
You can sell tickets to that trailer. It scared the heck out of people. Is there an actor that you haven't worked with that you'd love to?
Tom Hanks been a friend of mine for years. I'd love to work with Tom. I know Brad Pitt very well. Of course, the guys you would think, I want to work with. Joy Clooney's a really good friend of mine. Never worked with him. There's guys who I know and have been. I met George before they were doing ER. So I've known these guys I met them on the Warner lot, 12 years ago. So it's there are guys who I know I'd like to work with, but it's just when these things work out, they work out.
Yeah. You talk about the weekend and everything that goes on. Are you still at the point? Are you nervous before?
Every time.
Yeah.
Every time.
Do you have a thing you do, or do you?
No, I'm just a wreck. I'm always a wreck.
Yeah.
You labor through that. The Saturday morning, I knew, on Losers, I kind of knew the week before it wasn't going to happen.
How do you know? How did you know?
Because I see tracking.
Yeah.
We have a thing called tracking, which tells us, what's the interest in the movie, the awareness, they want to see, you see all that. So I could see the numbers. I know how to read the tracking, and I didn't think we'd break 10. We did about 9.6. We didn't break 10. But on the Saturday morning of the opening of Sherlock, which was just a few months ago, was a great day.
Yeah,
a great day.
Phone starts ringing right away.
You know it. Yeah, it's a great day.
Is it? So we were talking a little bit backstage about some critics, and the days of there being a couple of big TV critics, and then that's it. Or one in each city, they're gone. Everybody's a critic now. You got Twitter, Facebook, you got all these bloggers. Is that good for the business, bad for the business? Do you care?
Certain movies, most of the movies that we make, the reviews are not as critical as some of the other pictures. Smaller movies, they're effective. It's nice to have good reviews, but it's more important that the audience really wants to see the movie.
Yeah.
And sometimes, usually that's kind of spelled out long before the reviews come out. You'll know if they want to see the movie, and you can feel it. And if they want to see the movie and they want to go, they'll go. And the reviews aren't going to really affect that. It depends on the kind of movie it is. Again, that whether it needs those big reviews. But the critics have changed drastically. It isn't an era anymore where you actually the review comes out and are they going to go to the theater? Plenty of movies get great reviews and nobody goes, and plenty of movies get horrible reviews and everybody goes. So it just doesn't really matter.
Yeah. What's the hardest part about making an action movie right now? You talked about all the new graphics and the CGI and all that stuff like that. But you got to raise the bar every time out.
Every time, yeah. Well, we've always tried to do that. Each movie that I have done, we've tried to raise the bar. We did that in 48 Hours. We did it on Lethal Weapon and on Die Hard. Of course, again on The Matrix. And Sherlock in a different way. But you always try to do things that are fresh and unique. And find ways. When Jurassic Park came out, that last act with those kids in that kitchen and those velociraptors, we had a brilliant way to bring it down to something that was just genius. Things like that, you need ideas like that are just fantastic. And we're always trying to do. We're working on, making another Sherlock Holmes now. So we're working on trying to find strong, great, effective scenes, elements, things to do, and we're doing that right this moment.
A question from the audience. How's the industry changed for you in the last 25 years?
I mean, it's still the same process. You need to find a great piece of material. You got to find a great director who wants to do it, and then draw the proper players into the scene, whether they're famous or not famous, and then go through the process of making the movie, which is, difficult and gratifying and scary, and then putting it together, which is frustrating, and you hope you've kind of made it all work. Then the screening process is really painful and difficult, where you show the movie first to an audience somewhere, whether it's in Arizona or the Valley or somewhere, and then you let them see it and get the response and see what that does. I mean, and again, you're using a kind of referendum of people to see what the movie people, and it's been like that back to the 30s. They always did that, and then you sweat out finishing the movie and getting it out in the opening weekend. So it's complicated and difficult, and when they work, you feel great, and when they don't work, you want to blow your brains out. So it's just the way it is.
Do you still go sit in the theater at all, see what people?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I mean, I don't go see trailers anymore. I used to rush to the theater to see when a trailer played, and people are like talking and they're not paying attention. I can't stand it.
Yeah.
I did go to, when the greatest trailer moment of my life was I went to the opening of the second Star Wars, the second Star Wars movie, and they had the trailer, the first Matrix Reloaded trailer was on that theater. And it was a defining moment of the audience went out of their minds. I mean, that was a time that I saw something really special. But that's the only time that the trailer experience worked for me.
Okay.
But I go see the movies with them when they're playing with the audience, sure.
Do you go to Losers at all over the weekend?
Yeah, I didn't go over the weekend, no. I was out of town.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next question on this one is to ask you about the industry changes in the last 25 years. What else are you expecting coming down the pipe here? I mean, not you don't have a crystal ball, but are there things that? How about this? Are there things that worry you about the industry? Are there things that kind of keep you up at night?
No, I mean I'm a journeyman producer. I'm doing it every day. So I have movies. I'm in the middle of pictures. I have another movie starting on July 6th, and then a movie starting in October, and then we just finished two movies, one called Unknown White Male, kind of Hitchcock thriller that I did with Liam Neeson and Diane Kruger and January Jones, and this picture Apparition, which is a really scary ghost movie. So I'm in the process. So I'm just what keeps me up is hoping that they work.
Is it? I knew this question was going to get asked. I'm surprised only asked by a couple people. What is the status of the Veronica Mars movie?
There's no movie. The audience didn't respond to the show. They didn't watch it, and then I actually tried to do a movie, and I thought that the DVD market could maybe drive the movie. So I asked Warner, Home Video to see if they wanted a DVD of the movie, and there was no interest. So it was. I can't get it to happen. I would love it to happen, but I can't get anyone excited about it. So if the show people loved it, they would still be on the air.
Right.
But, they didn't show up.
It's, so you want to make that, you talk about, what other movies haven't gotten a chance to make that you really want to?
There's things that I've always been trying. There's a movie, the book I always want to make called Time and Again by Jack Finney. I've always wanted to make it. It's the book, and I've owned it for a while, and I'm trying to see if I can make it. But sometimes they happen, sometimes they do it. Movies like V, I took 11 years to make it. I'm trying to make Sergeant Rock. I've had it for 20 years. So it's sometimes they happen quickly, sometimes they take a long time.
What keeps Time and Again or whatever from what's
not a great script, not a script that people aren't excited about. So
yeah. And you're not into it enough to go.
Oh no!
Really push it to try to find somebody else.
I'm trying. Yeah, I'm at it.
Okay.
It's a time travel story, so it's some of the freshness of that is not as fresh as it was a couple of years ago when that was a really good new idea. But I'll try to make it one day.
Another question from the audience, and I know you mentioned before you have staff who picks off a lot of the early rounds of this stuff. But what do you really hate to hear during a pitch meeting or if somebody's giving you an idea? there alarm bells that go off from the
No,
theater?
no. I mean, I won't hear a pitch until my people have heard it and they like it and they vetted it, and then it'll come to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
What kind of stuff though do you want them to pick off so it doesn't get to your desk?
It just, I mean, I have guys working for me who I trust, so I mean, it's up to
Okay.
them. You know, they know what I want to do, they know what I'm looking to make, and so it comes to me through them.
So if I'm trying to make a movie though, I'm writing a script or I'm trying to put something together and I eventually want to bring it to you, any things I need to be careful of if I'm, a young producer?
No. I mean, it's just got to be a fresh idea. It's got to be something unique and novel and different and something people haven't seen before. That's what we find people want to see. You know. But on the other hand, there are also remakes and movies that people have seen before, reboots. I mean, so it goes both ways.
Do you have an iPad?
No.
Is that thing gonna save the world?
I don't know if it's gonna save the world, but it's pretty cool. I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen it, but I don't have one yet.
Is it going to change the content delivery business?
I will see. I don't
Yeah.
know. I can't. I'm not sure. I mean, I just don't think. I mean, I guess. When I go on a plane, you watch a movie like this, but do you want to sit and watch all movies like that? I don't know. I mean, maybe. I don't know.
A couple people asked about the same thing as well, and I mentioned you invented a sport, ultimate
I
frisbee.
did. I did.
Is that how the hell did you come up with that? With a lot of this, or
No, I mean, it was. I mean, here is a game that people think was a Sun Belt kind of California, Florida game. It was made by a bunch of kids in a parking lot in Maplewood, New Jersey. You know, and we invented it and we put it together in 1968, and it just kind of. There's a story that I was talking to one of the guys, and I said, "You wait, this game will be played all over the world one day." And he said, "Yeah, right, Joel." But as a matter of fact, it is. So, and I mean, people call me all the time. Said, "Did you?" I said I was involved in the evolution. A bunch of my friends, we got together, we invented this game, we invented the sport, and I mean, we kind of developed it, and it just, took off.
well, how do you come up with something? I mean, are you drunk? Do you lose the football?
It was a joke. I was in student council in Columbia High School, Maplewood, New Jersey, and one day, they said, "Any new business?" I raised my hand as a joke, and I said, "I would like to move that we create a committee investigating putting frisbee into the high school curriculum." Everybody laughed, isn't that funny? And they passed it. They said, "Okay, well, yes, you can do it."
Yeah.
So I had a committee from the high school to create a curriculum. So there was a game that we had kind of played that we knew of, this game, and it was kind of a counterculture type game. It was a wacky time. So we crafted this game and we submitted it to the student council, and I was on the school newspaper, and the end of that year we had a tournament between the student council and the newspaper, and we got it in the local paper, and it just moved from there. I think I called it Ultimate Frisbee, and it just kind of became something.
Stop playing every weekend?
No, I don't play. I taught my son how to play.
Yeah.
And he was at school one day with his friends, and he didn't play that well, and he says, and they were saying to him, he says, "My father invented that game." They said, "But you know how to play." He said, "Well, you still invented the game." And I said, "Mac doesn't mean how to play, because and I invented the game."
Yeah.
But I mean, it's these kids. I mean, they play. It's something. Some of you guys play, right? Sure.
See that? There you go. So you invented the sport. Why haven't we seen the Talladega Nights of Ultimate Frisbee?
don't
When are you
know.
coming out with that movie?
No, not for me.
Come on.
Yeah.
Another question from the audience here. Was there a defining moment that you said to yourself, and I quote here, "Holy shit, I made it in show business"?
I haven't said it yet, but I mean, I'm working on it.
Yeah. What was the first, I mean, in the spirit of the question though, was there a time where you kind of said, wow, I kind of...
I don't know. I mean, I guess The Warriors was the first movie that I felt that I made a contribution to. I was working for Larry Gordon. I put this movie together, and at that time, the action movie wasn't well thought of. I mean, the summers weren't full of action movies in 1978 like they are today. They weren't. There were the big stars at that time really weren't action stars. It wasn't an era of those kind of, except for the Bond films and the occasional Dirty Harry movie, there really wasn't that kind of action aesthetic. It was just like kind of a low budget, like AIP type movies. And we made that movie, and I had a lot to say about that, because I had a lot of thoughts, and when I saw that movie work, I felt that, that that's what I can do. And the next picture we did, that was 48 hours, which kind of took it to the next level.
Did
So
okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
did good.
You're involved in television. You have been before, and you are right now. You're working on a project right now that you're
Yes.
trying to. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
I hope that you'll be seeing it next year. Where's Nina? But it's on CBS. It's a pilot for CBS called The Odds, and it's kind of the way I pitched it is that I used to be a friend with a guy named Brandon Tartikoff, who's no longer around, and he was head of NBC for a while. He had on his wall a little framed picture, a little framed a piece of paper he had written down one day on a piece of NBC memo pad. He wrote MTV Cops, which was when MTV just came on the scene. And he gave that to his people, and they came back with a show called Miami Vice, which was the idea of a hip, cool show about two cops in Miami. So I went and pitched it to Nina. I said, here's my idea. It's called Hangover Cops. So it's about two cops in Vegas, and when they open the show, instead of, not just a tiger and a chicken and a baby in the bedroom, there's also a body in the jacuzzi. So I mean, it's like how cops in Vegas can work within a world where anything can happen. And the idea that pretty much everybody in Vegas is only there for 72 hours. I mean, the city swells in its population when people come there, but the people live there is a very small group, but it's just more come every year, and even in a down economy like now. And so they have to pretty much find whatever happened before everybody leaves and goes home. So it's a pretty good idea. It's kind of Lethal Weapon vibe, two great guys, and it's a good show. So I hope it works.
A question from the audience: What are the major differences in producing a TV series as opposed to a feature?
It's a very different world.
Yeah.
It's a very different business.
How
It's
so?
very, very different because you're working in a whole different medium. I mean, you're dealing with people in another way. They really want to get to know the characters. It's really how we dub it, how they tell the stories, how you cut the stories. It's very different in television than theatrically. And it's, and also you're making a movie that's going to be maybe 22 hours, if you have a whole series. So you have to keep it fresh and keep it going and keep it good. And I had a show a couple years ago called Moonlight, which I hope some of you saw, which I loved the show, and we just couldn't get the audience to find it, and then the movie Twilight came out, and everybody found them.
Right.
But we tried to do something unique and fresh on TV, couldn't make it happen.
I asked you how the state of kind of movies are creatively. How about television? What do you think? Television takes kind of a knock sometimes.
I love television.
Yeah.
I watch a lot of television. Some of those shows are just fantastic. I'm going to be sad when Lost is over. I watch Lost, and I want to know how it turns out. I watched 24. I'm sad that show's going to be gone. But I like Big Bang Theory, and I like Damages, and I like some of these really. This new show Justified. I watch the stuff, so I think television is great. I think it's I really feel that I want to have a voice in it, and I want to be active in television. I need to be active in television.
Why?
It's something I should be doing. I believe in it.
About the television sitcom, comedy, whatever you want to call it, there was last couple of years people have been saying it's dead, it's done, and now they're saying okay,
Sure.
Modern Family came along and Big Bang's on fire and all that. Is it cyclical like movies? Is it just kind
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So comedy is something you'd ever want to do?
I always think there's comedies a lot of comedy in my movies. They're not like comedies. They're like action films that have humor. I've been involved in a few comedies, and some didn't work that well, But I like to think that we have humor in our stuff, and this show is very funny that we've done. It's an hour drama, but it's very funny.
Right. There's a lot of talk between the difference between cable television and broadcast television. Now that line is getting pretty gray with more stuff that used to be on broadcast, whether it's Oprah or the
Sure.
March Madness going more to cable. Do you see that a lot? Is there like that opportunity to develop more of the high concept stuff for cable? I personally don't, because I think the stuff on broadcast is fantastic. But
It's fun. I did a show called Tales from the Crypt years ago on HBO that was really fresh and different, and it was like little half-hour movies every week, And it was when it came out, it was really outrageous. It was something that you hadn't really seen before.
Yeah.
But I think that since that time, there are still some harder edged cable shows that have things that you don't really normally see on broadcast. But I think that it's blurred. The line's blurred.
Yeah.
There's certain things you can get away with on cable that you can't get away with on television. But the ideas and the themes and the the concepts are equally valid and equally exciting.
How about reality TV? Is it killing you not to be home watching Dancing with the Stars right now?
I mean, I like reality television. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, it excites me. I haven't really gotten involved in anything yet. That's not true. I did do one show one year. I hated every minute of it. But I did a show called The Next Action Star. It was on NBC, where they came to me and they said to me, would you help us do this show where you cast, two people and then make a movie about them? And it was a silly idea and it didn't really work. But but I watch reality television.
Must have
I
really
like it.
stunk because everything on NBC works.
But it did stink, so it was okay.
So it's legitimate. Couple more questions from the audience. Another one going back to somebody trying to break in. Going back to the film business, what advice or warnings would you give to a first-time producer?
I mean, you just got to try everything. I mean, look, unfortunately, you've got to just learn the process. The process is key. I mean, I cannot be more, kind of sure about learning the process of how it goes from an idea to a script to the shooting to the editing to the release. I mean, you got to learn the process, and if you know the process, then you'll understand how to do it. Whenever you jump in without the process, then it could be mayhem.
Yeah. Specific genre question: what are the advantages and challenges related specifically to producing horror films?
I mean, I love horror films. I love them. I mean, when we started this kind of Dark Castle, this label. I mean, even though horror films have been around forever, there wasn't the amount of them. We did this movie called House on Haunted Hill in 1999, and it was like the first of this new wave of kind of, Scream had come out, I think, but now there's horror films every weekend. I mean, it's everywhere. It's got to be really, Paranormal Activity is really special and unique, and you need something really strong to get the audience. But look, it's genre filmmaking is great. It's not expensive, but again, you're competing with so many other pictures. It's hard to kind of cut through the clutter.
About a couple hours ago, my phone rang and you were on it, and you said, "Ask me anything." And as we wrap up here, because our time is just about done, I thought this might be a little fun. You mentioned The Hangover a few times. You and the guy who did it, Todd Phillips, have an open casting call out right now for a real secretive, top secret comedy project that right now is literally called Project X. Seriously, anybody in this room can try out. ProjectXOpenCall.com. Okay, here you go. If you want to try out for this, here's what you do. You have to send in a video of yourself doing one of the 5 following things. So I figured since you're asking America to do it, I'm going to ask you the same things.
Good luck.
Worth a shot, right? Tell us your most embarrassing story.
Go on.
Exactly. See? Your craziest party story?
It's good.
We're 0 for 2. Here we go. The riskiest or most daring thing you've ever done.
These are good for the audition. They're good.
What's that? You like this? You're proud of these?
Yeah.
I know you're not going to do this one. If you wanted to impress someone at a club, show us how you would dance.
Good.
I'd probably have to light a flame here to get you to, And show us the one thing that you do that makes your friends laugh.
Those are good ideas to have.
You like that?
Yeah, they're good. I'm not doing
Not
any of
for
them.
you.
But I think it's a good idea. Look, the idea is that Todd wants to do a movie where you really haven't ever seen anybody in it before.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that they, couldn't have had a small role in a series or a guest shot or something. He just doesn't want to have people in it that, are present in the world. He wants really a fresh ideas and fresh faces, and I think that's a smart thing.
If I was at your house on Saturday morning and the Losers had opened to 100 million, would I have seen your best dance move?
I would have been very happy.
Thanks for doing this. It was great
My
to see you
pleasure.
tonight.
But they can ask me some questions.
What's that?
Let them ask me some questions.
Do we have a couple minutes?
I'm here. No, screw it. Whatever you want, I'm here.
Does anybody have some?
Speak up.
Go ahead and just scream it out there in the back.
Earlier you were talking about digital distribution and how you're just going to kind of wait for it to be a financial center. But do you wait for the technology to come out and sort of take a risk, or you let someone else take the risk and move the audience?
I just think that, I look at we look at our profit statements every few months, and the amount of money that comes into us from digital distribution now is so minimal. It's so minute that it's just not there yet. It's just not happening yet. And whether it's a year away or 5 years away, it's just not there. And if the system was working, then we would see the result of it. China, they're talking about China as this great new placed for movies to get made, movies to get shown, and how much money we made in China. And I see on distribution statements we get more from Rhode Island than we do from China. So I mean, it's just and that's like a small state. I mean, but I mean, it's just that. But I mean, it's not happening yet. I mean, yes, China is the biggest country in the population of the world, and I guess it one day will be a great area for us, but we're just not there yet.
Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah, over in the corner.
Now, television has changed as far as A-list stars from films have gone into television, like Dustin Hoffman, and you're seeing them in new pilots. How does that affect the film as far as being cast?
I mean, well, look, I mean, it's just that, the big stars, the few that we talked about, are not doing series, but there aren't, the kind of huge money out there that there used to be for, I mean, there used to be like, $10 million was a SAG minimum for a movie star. I mean, that was, every guy got $10 million. I mean, those days are kind of ending. So you're finding people who, might not be getting the movies that they want, open to doing television series. And sometimes they can kind of channel back and they can end up doing a big movie following a big television show. But, I just think it's just people are, the stigma of not doing, I don't do television, I mean, is pretty much gone. I mean, they may not want to they may say I want to do a cable series because I want something that's cooler, but, but the stigma of no television, I think, is of the past. And I think you're finding great actors and great, people who are well known wanting to do television shows, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, right there.
I thought Beat for Vendetta was fantastic. Would you be able to make that in today's political climate?
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean, making the movie wasn't the problem. I mean, that one did some business. People liked that movie, it worked. I mean, Natalie was great, and it came out, it was a big successful picture. It didn't cost that much. So yeah, I mean, I would like to find, that was fresh and unique, and he's a guy with a guy in a mask, and it did a lot of money. So I mean, that was a good one.
Good, yeah, right in the front, sir.
Yeah, what are the character traits that you have that you feel have made you succeed as a producer, where other individuals who may be equally talented do not succeed?
Luck. That's it. I mean, there are plenty of guys who I think I'm much smarter than, who have made far more money than I have. So it's just a question of just, being in the right place at the right time. I mean, that's what I think it is. I mean, I have a good instinct. But I've made as many movies that didn't work as the ones that have worked. I mean, I've made a lot of movies. And, but I think that I've been lucky. I was lucky to find Eddie Murphy. I was lucky to have been Mel Gibson. I mean, these things just worked out. I mean, we had good projects, but I just was in the right place at the right time. I really believe that.
Also stuff like tenacity and a willingness to, take a hit and keep going.
Well, that goes without saying. Yeah. I mean, I have to. In our business, you have to understand that it's not going to go the way you want it to go, ever. I mean, sometimes you have good days, but it never goes the way you want it to go. And it is a gamble. It's always a gamble. And you're always hoping this one's going to work out. Sometimes they do. A lot of times they don't, And I always say as a producer, I wake up in the morning, people say no to me. And every day I get 500 no's. If I get one yes, that's a good day. And that's how it is. The process is. You got to take it. You got to take it.
Sir in the back.
Are any of the awards, like the Golden Globes, the Oscars, any of that important to you as a producer, or are they important in the movie making?
It's a popularity contest. I mean, yeah, it's nice. It's nice. I mean, I have always focused on. I'm a commercial movie maker. I make commercial movies. That's what I do, and they don't always intersect with the award world. I mean, yeah, I was very happy Downey this year got a Golden Globe for Best Actor in a Comedy for Sherlock Holmes, and I was happy for him because I think it meant a lot to him. He wanted to do that. He wanted to win that, and yeah, it's a nice thing to have your movie, get congratulations from your peers. It's nice to have all that.
It doesn't increase revenue anymore.
Not really. But I mean, it's nice to do it if it happens. But I've always concentrated on what I do, and if that happens too. I mean, The Matrix won like 4 Oscars, but they were like editing and sound effects and visual effects. It wasn't, other than that. But I was happy to win them.
Got time for one more question. Who's got a really good one? The last one. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Right.
Sure.
You prefer big action movies. Would you be considering
a big action movie that was real life. I mean, real life, something that really happened, one big event in the world. But it's different. That has a part of that story.
I mean, look, I'm open to anything. We're open to anything. I mean, whether it can be what it needs to be for me, I mean, a movie like Black Hawk Down was real life, a real story, very exciting movie. I mean, I don't know if that would have kind of gotten me excited to make. I mean, it made.
Well, that's small.
Okay, well, look, I don't know. I mean, sure.
Yeah, I guess we have time for one more. Right behind you, sir. Yes, ma'am. Yes, please.
You mentioned trailers before. You don't get there for the trailers anymore. And I often, when I see trailers, feel like I don't want to see the movie because I've seen it in the trailer already. And I'm just wondering how much you rely on trailers for getting the audience, or has the attitude of trailers changed over time? Because I think when I was younger, it used to excite me. And now
Well, trailers now, the biggest place of their distribution is the internet. I mean, that's mostly people see trailers on the internet. Kids, that's where they see their trailers. I mean, they're in the theaters too, but when you go to the internet, you see them and they're right there. They're very important. They're very important. They're the first images of the movie. That's what you want the audience to see. And it's not enough. That's not enough. The trailer is a good start. Splice trailer comes out this week. It's gonna, I think, run Entertainment Tonight. I mean, it's gonna go on it's gonna be on Facebook. I mean, they're doing all this stuff with it, and that's important. But it's the beginning. It's just like the leader of the campaign. So it's important to get it out there and let people to see it. So we sweat over the trailers. They test the shit out of them. We tweak them. We add a cut, change a cut. I mean, it's a big deal, trailers. I mean, it's a big deal. And when they go out, that's when you know right away how you're doing.
Well, I'm curious for those of us who want to direct and produce, would you recommend, and now I guess it's a lot easier to make films on our own, would you recommend raising money and just doing it yourself?
Look, how many projects? I met this guy that did Paranormal Activity. I mean, it cost nothing. I mean, it was just a good idea that he did with a home video. I mean, you can do that. I mean, yeah, you can raise money and put something together, but it's more or less a audition tape for yourself to show what you can do. I mean, when they bought Paranormal Activity, the idea was to take it and then remake it with a big movie, but they decided to put it out the way it was. So, I mean, it just depends. The thing about it is the great thing about our business is that the only constant is that everything is a variable. So nothing says anything. You can try any way to do anything, but people will do it. I met a young director last week. His name is Carl Wrench. All right, and Philips, the television company, was putting out a new widescreen TV. And they went to 5 directors who didn't have a lot of attention, and they gave them $400,000 each, and they gave them 5 lines of dialogue. And they said, go and make a movie that we can use to promote the new Philips widescreen TV. None of these guys are big directors. And this guy made this film that is so spectacular that everybody in town is desperate to make a deal with him or to buy the rights to this thing. And yes, it was $400,000, yes, but it was an advertisement for Philips television. And I don't know, this is the first I heard of that one before, but they sent us the DVD and I showed it to Warner Brothers, and the guy was in the office the next day, and it was a tremendous feeding frenzy for this guy based on a 4-minute promotional thing for a television company.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, first off, thank you for being so positive.
Well, I'm positive when things are working.
Keep it that way. Did you have any mentors at any point in your career?
Yeah, I mean, sure. When I went to work for Larry Gordon, who was a producer who hired me as his driver in 1977. And I drove him around, yes, and he treated me like shit, that's true. And and I went through the process, and he helped me, as much as is possible in that era. But I really felt that my friends, the people that I worked with, the people that I knew and I grew up with, they were my support team. And a lot of them went on to having great success, other ones to have abject failure. But it's just that we just all worked together and built our way through it. But but again, for every direct way to do something, there's a way that's indirect that can work. So there's no precise way, and there was nobody that led me along and said, do this, do this, do this. No, the answer is no.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
You mentioned paranormal before, and films like that, or films like back in the day, Blair Witch. How much do you think that those films were actually so successful because of the marketing campaigns behind them, rather than?
I mean, a marketing can only do so much. I mean, it can bring people to the table, but they have to deliver. It has to be a good meal. I mean, so. Yeah, the marketing campaigns were very smart, and they were very effective, and they worked very well. But I mean, look, when we made The Matrix, they didn't know what the hell to do. They didn't know what the hell to do. They didn't know what it was, and we had a campaign that says, what is The Matrix? That was the campaign. You have to see it for yourself. That was our campaign, because they didn't know how to sell it. And, and believe me, that stuff didn't test that well, those spots. They didn't really test well, because no one knew what it was, but the movie worked. So the movie worked, so that it brought them to the theater, they saw it, and then it went from there. So, the marketing campaign is important, but it has to deliver what you have.
Nina said one more question, or she's not buying your pilot.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I actually have an idea, by the way, that makes his idea look tiny.
Good.
But my question is, do you ever want to make a small movie?
I've made small movies. I'm saying Kiss Kiss Bang Bang cost $15 million. Rock and Roller cost less. I mean, I don't know how much smaller I could ever make a picture, but I made a little movie. But I'm in the big commercial movie making business, so that's where I end up. And now we're done.
Yes, we are.
Thank you all.